It's a bright early morning and we are in Garenoff. Just another day doing my level up challenge. This was a cool town, right? There was some interesting stuff going on here. There's the floating wizard's tower. There's the mysterious elemental golems. I wonder if ArenaNet ever had any plans for this place. Yeah, probably at some point they had a plan, right? I mean, there is this door over here, this mysterious gateway leading deeper into the town. Did this ever lead anywhere? Were they ever playing with something? I wonder. Okay, guys, so yes, this is going to be another Tyria 3D video. Oh, it's going to be a good one as well. So we're all familiar with Garenoff, right? We're all familiar with the very cool area in Kessex Hills with the floating tower that was there in Guild Wars 1. I did a Guild Wars Mysteries video on it a long time ago where I talked about theoretically what could be happening there in the story and what's going on, but it's really... we have never, ever had anything from the devs change there, aside from, like, the Karka event, where there was a couple of fights we could participate in, but nothing that even recognized the Wizard's Tower was around. Well, when I showed you guys Tyria 3D a while ago, a lot of people said to me, one of my most visited comments was, hey, go into Tyria 3D, go into Kessex Hills, which is where we are right now, and tell us, can you see the Wizard's Tower? So this is Garenoff. This is where you just saw me running around in-game. I ran along here and came to this gate here, which on Tyria 3D, by the way, has no collision. That's because it's a dynamic object. All those gates you see in Guild Wars 2 actually do have the capability of opening or closing. This one, however, has no event associated with it that will open it. Has always seemed like some kind of extra area to a new zone, or maybe the entrance to a dungeon here. But you'll actually notice that if we come here, this is out to sea. There is no Wizard's Tower. This was a big disappointment for a lot of people. Truth is, the Wizard's Tower has no collision on it, so it wouldn't appear anyway. But even beyond that, it actually exists outside of the map. It is impossible for a player to move past this boundary. So it truly is completely off limits. This tool doesn't even reveal it. Or it didn't reveal it. The last Tyria 3D video I did was from an old client, which showed us Fortune's Vale. Well, I also found another map. Specifically, actually, I found two maps. The first of the two you're looking at right now, it's nothing too special, but it's basically Kessex Hills from a long time ago. Just normal Kessex Hills, before the Tower of Nightmare, before even launch, I believe, just the regular vanilla map. And on that, you could actually see the Wizard's Tower. That was fairly interesting, though. The collision data didn't really give us too much. All it demonstrates is that at one point in the game's life, you could actually stand on the Wizard's Tower, and then they decided they didn't want players to be able to, and then they removed it before launch. And then there was this map. And it's a good one. This map shows us Claw Island. Oh yeah, look, see, so this is Claw Island. You all know how annoying it is to get a good look at Claw Island. You can only see it in that one personal story instance, and who really wants to go through the entire personal story just to see it? Well, now we can explore it anytime. Okay, no, there's a little bit more than that. In the background of Claw Island, we can actually see the Wizard's Tower. Pretty bizarre, huh? This actually turns out to be one of the most interesting, a rather bare bones map, I will say, but a very cool concept that ArenaNet were working on sometime before the launch of the game. This actually adds a huge chunk to Crater that is currently unplayable, and it's rather fascinating. It seems to be some attempt for them to have added Claw Island back into the real world, in addition to a bunch of other stuff, including more of the Dominion of Winds and Tengu lands we haven't seen yet. That's what I'm going to show you guys today. Here, I'll give you guys some perspective of what we're actually about to go through this tour with. This is a map that ThatShaman made. It's actually a 4K resolution image. What we did to get this was just zoom out really far and just look down on the entire map. So this here is Claw Island, and up here, actually, is Lion's Arch. And over here is a huge amount of unvisited terrain. And over here is Garenoff, with this being the Wizard's Tower. I actually mocked up a similar version of this map for myself, which places it in regular Tyria, and that you would be stunned to see how beautifully this lines up. This map here that I've got, all I did was take a screenshot from far away, and once I had the image, I cropped out the sides and just dumped it onto a region map of Crater, and everything lines up almost perfectly. Once I got the scale correct, you can see here we've got Claw Island, which is exactly where it would be in the real world, and once I'd lined Claw Island from this map up to the Claw Island we see on the world map, everything turns out flush. Up here, this northern landmass here, this connects directly onto Lion's Arch. Lion's Arch of today with destroyed Scarlet stuff. You can actually see how the rocks line up. Up here, you can see you've got a river. This river, I actually remember speculating about a long time ago, back during Guild Wars 1, how this river actually, in theory, could go all the way north through Kryta. As you can see, it continues up here, connecting the southern seas to the northern Giants Basin. And before Guild Wars 2 came out, this was some speculation I had for how the Caledon could get into the southern seas, which is, of course, kind of a ludicrous idea now that we see the real scale of Guild Wars 2. But everything lines up. So here, as you can see, this map that ArenaNet were working on, even down to this very road here, coming to the Haven in Kessex Hills, is flush. We can even see on this map I'm about to explore with you guys, you can see parts of this fortress. So I'll zoom out a little bit more for you guys, just so you can get the full perspective. This is another unseen Guild Wars 2 Kryta map. Here we've got Queensdale, here we've got Gw2 Fields, Lion's Arch, Kessex Hills, the Tengu City, in theory, Caledon Forest, Bloodtide Coast, and now this map here too, complete with Claw Island, and even revealing some of this island here, which so far we've only ever seen as like art on the world map, that actually if you line it up to Guild Wars 1, this is the Delesio Arena. This is a PvP area from the first game. So this is the map. It includes a full copy of the Wizard's Tower in sight of Claw Island. No idea what it was going to be named. It's very bare bones. But let's have a look in. I couldn't begin to tell you guys how much it blew my mind to see the scale of these things, that Claw Island is within perfectly visible sight of the Wizard's Tower. You know, when you play this as the part of the personal story, it seems to be surrounded by oceans on all sides. We know from the lore that this is a place in charge of the defense of Lion's Arch, but when you actually see it placed in regular Tyria, it's really a very, very small... Well, this is larger than it would appear, really, because we're moving very fast in Tyria 3D. But this is not too much water separating it from Lion's Arch. This is the Lion's Arch lighthouse right here, guys. Or not specifically the one in Lion's Arch that was destroyed, but some kind of lighthouse on the landmass right near LA, as you'll see in a second. So let's follow, what do you say, the eastern wall of the map and just see, because you can actually see they've copied various elements from other maps in here, including all of Garenoff. Here we can see a little bit of the Tengu wall. Don't forget that the Tengu wall does kind of extend towards Lion's Arch, so does this technically make this Tengu territory? A lot of this is very bare bones. We'll look in the middle in a second, but we've got some kind of a pathway or a bridge here. Let's just follow the edge of the map here, and I'll show you guys. This is actually Lion's Arch. This is the Tengu wall in Lion's Arch. This is right near where the diving platforms would be. This is an exit to Lion's Arch, which they've got on the map, which of course we never saw. This giant boat on top of a door. This is what we actually see on the Gw2 Fields entrance to Lion's Arch. And as you can see, it comes out here into the new map, the map that never was. And yeah, this is pretty much Lion's Arch stuff here. If we come down, this should be the Script Cave. Or what is now the Script Cave, but originally was the Pirates Cave. So they have really dropped this stuff in, and these areas, of course, have got all the detail that they could ever really need. Now we're on the northern wall, so now this over here on the right, in theory, would be Gw2 Fields. As we move through, you'll see there's not too much going on. Actually, nowadays in Tyria, this edge of Gw2 Fields, this is actually where the hidden Aether Blade puzzle is, the not-so-secret jumping puzzle. But of course, because this map is far older than when the Aether Blades were being added to the game and stuff, that didn't really matter. It wasn't conflicting with anything. We can continue moving along here. We've got these big hills. We've got some trenches here, which I'll have a look at in a second. And as we continue to progress along, all the way along Gw2 Fields, we come flush with Kessex once again, as you guys saw in that map a moment ago. And the bottom right corner of Kessex Hills is indeed all here. So this is the top. This is the fortress I just pointed out to you guys on the map with the roads. I mean, the fact that the detail of the roads, if I zoom out enough, if I come all the way up, you can actually see the roads, and then the roads line up with the artistic map that the devs have got for Guild Wars 2. It's just crazy to me. These are the watery areas where, you know, you get the skelk. This is the area where there's a skill point. You get some meat from like an urn down here. You double click it and you manage to get a skill point, and there's kind of a rubbishy little meta event that goes on here with a necromancer. And as we move down south, this is the walk you guys just saw me do in-game at the start of the video. You know, as you walk past the Ettins here, and eventually as you crest this hill into Garenoff, and you see the Wizard's Tower in the distance. But now things are a little bit different. This is different to when I was looking at just modern-day Kessex Hill in Tyria 3D. Now we have what lies beyond. We have the town, we have the gate. The gate no longer just ends, it actually leads us to a pathway which takes us out into this large northern region, which I'll show you guys now. Again, it's very, very barren, very little work had been made on this map. It's more of a concept, I suppose, than anything. But down here you can see we've got some kind of a tree or something, some kind of... Actually, no, this is a statue. This is... What is that, Melandru? A statue to Melandru here? Like, what does this mean? I'm gonna have to keep myself calm here. Actually, in the editing, I've just realized what this statue is. In Guild Wars 1, this area was called the Delesio Seaboard. It was a mission you participated in on Kryta, and the bonus of that mission had you go to a statue of Melandru. I knew it seemed familiar from somewhere. They actually went to the effort of adding that in here and honouring that old thing from the first game. So that's why we see this statue. Thought I'd share that with you guys. And as we move along, you'll see that we've just kind of got these valleys that have been shaped out. Very little detail at all. And of course, there is just over a hill that we shouldn't be able to get to if this was a real map, because this would be Keswick's Hills. It's crazy to me, even though there's no detail here, just knowing that they had this idea once, and it's been scrapped, and I really am not expecting them to add this to the game at this point, not anytime soon, at the very least with Heart of Thorns and taking us to the Maguma Jungle, but just knowing that these, like the map that we showed off before, north of Queensdale, were once ideas for them, is very, very, very interesting to me. We've got some kind of a lake here. I can imagine a couple of, maybe a meta event featuring around the lake, and a very thin kind of cave here. And so once we travel over here, once again, you'll see we are back towards the Lion's Arch entrance. No real underwater caves or enough landscaping has been done there, so this obviously isn't too interesting. But let's head back over, I guess, now to Gindaren and check out the tower itself. Could it be that this was a dungeon instance, maybe, of some kind, where you'd start in the town, maybe all of the elementals have gone crazy and they're fighting, because there is absolutely a lot of detail here. Even the Asuran Inquest base that is hidden in these rocks, if I get this right. Yes, I did get it right, is here, so this... Oh, hold on. How do we get there? Come on, game. I know you can do it. It's so small, it's in the rocks. Hold on. Where are we? Whoa, we're miles away, that's why. Oh, God. So you move very, very, very fast on this camera. All right, hold on. So we could just go from the house. So this house here has a basement, and then the basement leads to an Asuran prison, which is not this. Here we go. The Asuran prison. Cool. So even this is here on the map. So, the idea I'm suggesting is maybe we would have had some kind of an instance where we'd have to, where the elementals, all this ominous stuff about how they might eventually rebel, this has actually occurred, people are maybe in trouble, we come to help them out, we travel through the gates, we explore these areas, perhaps we end up hunting down Isgaren, fighting our way through a bunch of elementals, and eventually find some kind of portal that takes us into the Wizard's Tower. So, I already told you guys that there is another version of just Keswick's Hills that did have this with Collision from a long time ago. The Collision you see in that map is different to this one. This is one of the more detailed versions of the Wizard's Tower we've got as far as Collision's concerned. And as we move through, you can see there is like a giant room in the center, but really it's not telling off too much. This really isn't spoiling anything. It's obviously a work in progress, or this would have been a totally different instance we would have traveled into, and then we would have had the full mansion to explore. But this is pretty nice. Maybe I'll show you guys a screenshot of the other version of this with Collision on it on the screen right now, so you guys can see. And that one's got a little bit more of a courtyard going on, and but generally still doesn't show us too much. So that's the Wizard's Tower. That's where it's floating. Here's some other crazy stuff, though. Of course, if this was Keswick's Hills, we would have the Tengu Wall just sort of over here with the Destroyer area. Well, now we actually get to see, in Caledon Forest, we are looking at the western flank of the Dominion of Winds, the western wall. Now we get to see and travel along the full eastern wall. And it even looks like from certain areas you could see over the wall, but it comes straight through the water here. So no, we are not exploring the Tengu City. We are not exploring the Dominion of Winds. The assets we see that this wall is made out of are the same that we were seeing in other maps that already exist in Guild Wars 2. So this isn't like a spoilery stuff for the city itself. This is just another one of the walls. And there's no real entrance as far as I can see. You might say these are entrances, but I think these are just like a different bit of design on the wall, because there's obviously cliffs behind there not allowing us to see further. And we can kind of go all the way along the wall. So it's crazy, actually. We're looking here at Sanctum K, the Dominion of Winds, We're looking at Claw Island, we're looking at the Wizard Tower, Garenoff, and even a bit of like the Delesio Arena. So this is what we're coming to now. As you can see, we've got a bridge. I did actually just skip over one interesting small feature on this map, and that is the fact that here we have a small crate structure, and it seemed like there was going to be some kind of a little bit of underwater content here, just sort of generic crate style stuff. But over here, this would be the Delesio Arena. Again, it's not really got much on it. Or was there, would they? And this would have been the edge of the map too. Would there maybe have been a portal here, allowing us to go further south? And of course, now we have South Sun Cove deeper down there, so that's kind of curious to me. And even this is lining up, you know. And this tiny little rock here, this tiny section of the map in this corner, this, guys, is actually a part of Blood Tide Coast. I'll throw the image back up for you guys. That's Blood Tide Coast down there. So we're seeing like a connection between Kessex Hills and Blood Tide Coast. Fantastic to think about. There is definitely far less water than I was expecting. The water is not very deep here either, which is a little upsetting to me. Why would ArenaNet eventually decide to remove this? This was how we were going to get back to Claw Island. Was it because to add this map in really gives you a sense of how small Guild Wars 2's world is? Yes, we're getting an even smaller sense of scale here because we're interior 3D and everything looks small. You know, this is an entire map the size of Kessex Hills here that I'm just zooming through. So this is some significant water here. Or maybe it's just that they realized they couldn't make that much engaging underwater content, and this is primarily a water-filled map. One other thing this map maybe reveals to us is their design process for actually making areas in Guild Wars 2. The fact that the artistic map lines up so perfectly with this suggests to me that this was maybe always here. Perhaps they started the development of Guild Wars 2 by making kind of a giant copy of Tyria and then zoomed out of it and used that as their basis for artistic maps, which could mean, in theory, any chunk of the world out there, for any place we've not seen yet, does have this very kind of rudimentary meshing laid out already, even complete with random statues and landmarks calling back to Guild Wars 1 things, like the Melandri statue we saw, perhaps. I guess the last feature here as well that I haven't really talked about is this bonus island here. I have no idea really what's going on with this additional island, but it does seem to have a little bit more detail than other islands. There's no like caves or anything on the inside, as far as I can tell anyway. I think these are just rocks and crazy things that I'm looking through. So yeah, that's pretty much the map, guys. The Lion's Arch Lighthouse here. I hope you enjoyed. It is more bare bones than previous ones we've shown. I think it has to be, though. If it was anything worse, then I would feel pretty bad about showing this. But, you know, I wonder, and I'll ask you guys this now, do you think we have any chance of seeing this map come back into Guild Wars 2? You know, but fully fleshed out, or have they moved away from that now? Have they decided this isn't what they wanted to do? You got to remember that after launch, they did have a time where they said, right, we want to add a new map. And rather than looking at this concept, rather than looking at the concept that they had for North of Divinity's Reach, instead they went with something entirely new, something that didn't even fit in lore. They went with South Sun Cove. Was that because the designers were bored, maybe? They wanted to work on something totally new? They wanted to blow the lid open? Or what? Was there just something fundamentally wrong with this area of Crater? Love to hear you guys' thoughts. Super happy to be able to show this to you all. And let me know what you think. Absolutely. There may be a couple more videos like this coming up in the future, so stay tuned. Cheers, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll actually be walking around in here.